Wow, what an absolute whirlwind of emotions today's anime has taken me through, let me tell ya. Maybe I spoke too soon when I called Mao-sama Retry the worst anime of the year so far, but we'll find out by the end of this video. There were a couple of shows here that I just kind of dropped out of hand, didn't really care enough. There was some new Nobunaga Pretty Boy show, I don't really give a shit. There was also that show Hensuki, the one about, would you have a girlfriend who's a pervert just because she's cute, I guess is how you translate the title. That one put me off so quickly with how bad the artwork is. I mean, it's basically a fan service harem show, except that the girls look terrible in most of the shots. I think it suffered from the same problem as Boku wa Tomodachi ga Sukunai, which was a more watchable show than this one, but both of them have original artwork that's pretty detailed and is not really easy to capture in animation well, and I think the team just kind of overexerted themselves trying to capture all the extra on top stuff, like the lipstick, the weird visual filters and gradients and stuff without just actually nailing the line work, the actual drawings. So it comes out looking really terrible. All the dialogue and characterization seemed extremely trite and boring. So did not really stick around with that one for more than a couple minutes. The new show that surprised me with how okay it was Copcraft. This is a pretty standard police procedural taking place in a version of Earth where a portal has opened up to another dimension or something through which all these fairies and monsters have arrived and, begun to live on Earth, and it's just a crime drama in a world where there's now people with special powers who happen to be among the populace. It deals with some themes of racism and stuff. I guess it's comparable to Bright, that Netflix movie that nobody liked and wasn't reviewed well, so I don't know if the influence from that would be affecting it here, but I mean, this is not exactly a new concept. There have been other police procedurals of this nature. You might even compare it to something like Pacific Rim in the way that there was apparently a big war before the start of the series, but when this rift first opened up, and now things are kind of amicable, but also there's, lots of crime going on between these different species. Our main character is a hard-boiled, older cop. He fought in that war, he's been on the beat for a long time, and at the start of the series, in a honestly pretty cool scene, his partner gets murdered, and he ends up having to team up with this girl who's like a dignitary from one of these fairy dimensions. She's extremely powerful and badass, but she's also very prim and proper, and she is not a fan of the sort of rudeness of her partner cop. She's a bit of a fish out of water. She's kind of a comedic character, but also a total badass. The show writes itself. The setup is as time-honored a tradition as you could possibly get. And as for how it's presented, well, I would say that the animation and stuff is all fine. There's nothing like egregiously awful about it, but there's also nothing about it that stands out as great. It does have Range Murata character designs, who, is probably best known for his work on shows like Blue Submarine No. 6 and Last Exile. Those shows actually do have incredible aesthetics though, and really allow his designs to come to life in the world that they're a part of. This show does not have that feeling. I mean, the girl looks like she was drawn by him, so if you just like his character design sense, you might get something out of it, but you're not going to see it drawn with the level of quality that obviously he would draw his own artwork with. So yeah, the show, it doesn't look amazing. The plot is fairly generic, fairly standard. The dialogue is nothing special. It's basically just a procedural cop show, but it's fine. It's up to snuff. If you just want a show like this, you will not be disappointed. I definitely think there are people who will casually view this all throughout the season, probably forget about it later, unless the plot goes in some kind of really unexpectedly cool direction. I really have no reason to think it would or that it wouldn't, so I'm gonna keep watching this one for now and just see what happens. But let's cut to the fucking chase here. We gotta address the elephant in the room. Arifureta, from commonplace to world's strongest. this was the big light novel adaptation of the season. It's the one that was already being hyped, that was already towards the top of the most popular on the Mal chart long before the show even aired. The light novels and manga have been getting released in the US for quite some time now, so this was something that a lot of people know about already. And, you know, I was expecting it to be a generic light novel fantasy, as there are a dime a dozen, more like a penny a dozen, honestly, these days. But what I was not expecting was for it to be one of the most bafflingly incomprehensible train wreck clusterfucks that I have seen in a long time. To an extent that I don't know if I could say it's worse than Mao-sama Retry, because I actually enjoyed watching it. I was laughing at the screen regularly. I kinda had a good time. I mean, at first I was just confused. This is one of the most poorly directed shows I've seen in a while. There is so little continuity between shots. Characters are always just kind of interacting with things off screen, and when the camera cuts to those things, they don't seem to be in a sensible direction from the previous shot. It's like whoever directed this just has no understanding of cinematography at all, and so it becomes really confusing to watch until you know, have the scene going on for long enough that you can fully grasp what the hell is even going on. And moreover, it starts in media res, but like 6 different layers of in media res deep, where the main character is in this situation where he's like in a cave, he's fighting these monsters that are attacking him, we don't know why he's there, we don't know what's going on, we don't know anything about the world, and then we keep cutting to flashbacks of like what led to this moment, but those also don't explain anything, also give us no sense of the world or the characters or what the hell's going on. It just keeps cutting around to random points in time, and none of it makes any fucking sense. Meanwhile, the visuals are just all over the place. You've got some god-awful CGI, some moments with that CGI that are just hilarious. My favorite is the dragon face planting into the concrete that happens like halfway in. And then we have the main character who is the biggest edgelord of all time. I mean, this show, plot-wise, it is, I mean, it takes a while to figure out exactly what's going on plot-wise, but once you do, you realize that it's exactly the same thing as all the other shows that have been coming out. I don't think this is an isekai. I think it is a native isekai, but it is so similar to both the Slime isekai and So I'm a Spider, So What, which is getting an anime I think later this year. Because both of those are stories that start off with the main character in a cave as a low-level enemy. They have to consume other enemies in order to get stronger and gain new abilities. Oh hey, what do you think's going on in this one? The guy's in a cave, he has to consume monsters in order to gain new abilities, he's got a video game stat window thing. It's exactly the same as those two. And I don't even know which of these light novels came first, so, you know, maybe this one's not as derivative as those ones even are. But bottom line is, it's the same fucking thing that we've seen before. But moreover, he's also got the righteous indignation and just angry fucking aggression of the Shield Hero. However, whereas Shield Hero has a good reason to be that way, because we follow him as he gets fucked over, we sort of learn about a conspiracy going on, this guy, just right off the bat, has kind of assumed that somebody is trying to fuck him. I mean, I guess there was an attack that he thinks was aimed directly at him, so clearly somebody was trying to fuck him over in some way. But we don't know anything about it. We have no context to appreciate that. We're just watching this guy be really fucking angry and then decide, like, anybody who tries to tell me what to do is gonna get their ass kicked. And then he's just, like, got the edge smile through the rest of the episode. It's just him screaming edgy shit and bleeding out and gritting his teeth and being just a fucking edgelord for the whole episode, and it's really funny. I mean, I had Linkin Park playing in my head through several scenes, some Avenged Sevenfold, like the AMVs that I expect to come out of this. I don't know if people still do AMVs, like, of new shows the way they used to, but, like, it was just way too fucking perfect for, like, some kind of edgy nu metal AMV. It was unbelievable. It was legitimately hilarious. It was worth watching for me, and I think I might have to do a big ol' series about it. people have been begging me for years to make another show in the vein of The Asterisk War sucks or Sword Art Online sucks. I did some, I've done Psycho-Pass vs. Psycho-Pass 2, where I mostly shit on Psycho-Pass 2. I shit on Steins Gate Zero. Those didn't make people as happy as maybe some of the previous work did, since a lot of people like those shows. But, I don't really find myself often inspired by stuff. Like something like Mao-sama Retry, all the problems with it are the same as the problems with something like The Asterisk War. It's just the triteness, the lack of new ideas, the, clinging to cliches. And while those things are also true of Arifureta, this one is also just baffling on top of that. It's not the same where it's just like plot holes and contrivance and cliches and seeming like the author just didn't give a fuck, or the creators of the show didn't give a fuck. It's more like incompetence on top of that layer of, cliche. So I think it might be worth finally going ahead and doing it. And if I do it, because the show is still airing, I think I'll just have to do it episode by episode. Every time an episode has enough that's worth talking about. Because, man, there was a lot I felt like I could talk about with this particular episode. It was a doozy. It was an experience. So, if you've been looking for something, like, awesomely bad to watch, this is the guy. There's not a lot of anime that I think are legitimately awesomely bad. I could say maybe I feel that way about, like, W's and, what's it called? The one that came before that. Those shows I find more engaging because I feel like they were trying to do something so unique, and even if they flubbed the delivery, I don't hate them. I don't begrudge what they were trying to do. This show is it's laughable on every tier, so I'm gonna have some fun with it, I think, and I'll keep watching it just so that I can just so I can shit on it. If that's all the same to you. I think a lot of people will probably be vindicated. I might even have to go read the light novels, because people have said that, of course, light novel fans are not happy about this adaptation. I can't imagine the light novels even could be as incomprehensible as this adaptation is. So, it's a sight to behold for sure. The last thing I'm going to talk about is episode 2 of To the Abandoned Sacred Beasts. That's right, we're finally getting on to some episode 2 since it's been a full week. I had this at the same with So Nandeska or whatever before, because that one had, for some reason, the first episode had come out early, but the episode 2 is not out yet. But To the Abandoned Sacred Beasts is still, I pretty much feel the same way I did after the first episode, that it is very trite. It's like the epitome of a 5 out of 10 show. There's nothing really wrong with it. There's nothing really exceptional about it. I guess similar to what I said about Copcraft. But, like, in this case, I feel like there is some heart to it. Like, I feel that the story is probably meant to be a commentary to some level on PTSD and the way that soldiers are treated when they return home. Because that's pretty much literally what the show is about, is these soldiers come home and they're changed, they, lose control sometimes and can be a danger to their surroundings, only it's all, of course, amplified by the fact that they are transforming monsters that will wreak havoc around them. And their squad leader is going around putting them down one by one, and it feels like it's meant to sort of communicate this tragedy of the way that people who are heroes on the battlefield come home and don't have a place in society anymore. There's a line in the second episode where, one of the people he's about to kill says, "Should we have just died as gods on the battlefield?" And so, like, I appreciate that there is some theming, that there is some heart to it, but, like, the actual narrative so far is just so goddamn cliche and trite. Like, particularly episode 2, which is about a young girl who's, her and her father run this orphanage. The father has to go out to the war because he has a special ability. He ends up coming back as just a dragon. It's honestly really hilarious, because at first there's all these scenes of them, like, recognizing the dragon as daddy and, like, him just hanging out with the kids, and it's goofy as hell, particularly in a show you're meant to take seriously. Of course, it goes the direction you would exactly expect it to, but, I feel like I could still watch another episode of this, because I still don't entirely know if it's just gonna be, like, monster of the week? Is it just going to be these different cliched storylines about each character before he has to go and kill them? How long will it be before the conspiracy sort of behind everything starts to come to the forefront? You know, I don't know much about the source material or anything. I don't even know if it's a light novel or a manga or what. So, like, I feel like there's potential in this show for it to be more than it has been, but not much, because if it were capable of being truly great, the writing wouldn't be so trite up to this point. So, you know, I'm willing to give it at least a 3-episode test. We'll see how it goes. And that's it for today's anime. Stick around on my channel because you don't want to miss the Arifureta is fucking terrible series, or whatever the hell I end up calling it. Of course, you should become a patron so that you can help me to create content like this. You get access to tons of bonus shit on all the different tiers, and I still have t-shirts for sale. Nobody's bought them in the last day or so, I think. Actually, I haven't checked for today, but there's still a bunch of larges left if you happen to be a large and you want to wear my sick-ass design of me fighting an army of Kiritos. So check that out, and I'll see you tomorrow.